Comic Book Savant, episode 414. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This episode, we're going to be talking about the movie Glass by M. Night Shyamalan. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review. If you haven't seen Glass yet and you want a non-spoiler review just to get my general thoughts on the movie, you can check out the YouTube channel, which you can find at youtube.com/comicbooksavant. And I'll have a non-spoiler review, just a short couple of minute non-spoiler review that you can listen to or you can watch to determine if it's worth your time to head out and see or not. But I just wanted to warn you guys now before we go further into the episode that from here on out, everything that we talk about could be considered spoilers to the movie Glass. So if you haven't seen it yet, stop the podcast at this time and come back after you've had a chance to see the movie, or otherwise you will be spoiled. So the final warning. And okay, before I get into this episode, I'd just like to give a shout out to you guys and listeners and the Patreon supporters. I spoke about the situation last episode. So if you guys hadn't listened, I've done away with the advertisements that I had been doing. I'm just going to depend and push forward with the Patreon campaign and just really wanted this crowd supported from the community. I've had some patrons come aboard to help support the show. It's not exactly where I need to be right now, but like I said, due to some unfortunate circumstances behind the scenes, I just went ahead and severed my relationship. And I'm just going to rely on the community. You guys have supported me whenever I've put that out there. I've really strengthened up the Patreon campaign over the past year or so, and I keep adding and tweaking things as I've been going along. It's 4 tiers. The lowest on the introductory level. Excuse me, can't talk. Losing my voice for some reason. The lowest tier starts at $1. And that gives you access to the Comic Book Savant extra feed that I was trying out here originally. You'll have access to that for just pledging $1 a month. And we have the $1 tier. We have a $3 tier, a $5 tier, and the highest tier is a $7 tier per month. Basically, if you believe in what I do here and want to help support the show, it would be greatly appreciated. And I'm not going to get into all the details, what the different levels provide. You can just go over to patreon.com/comic book savant. So it's patreon.com/comic book savant. And it has the breakdown for each tier, everything they provide. And what bonuses you get, and actually I'm adding more things to the different tiers as time goes on. Like I said, as more patrons come on board, I want to offer more so you can get even more value for you pledging and helping support the show. So as my schedule frees up, I offer more and more, I'm adding more and more bonuses to make it even more attractive. But if you have a moment, stop by, check it out. And if you see fit, or if it's possible, you can help support the show, I would greatly appreciate it. With all that being said and out of the way, gosh, I apologize. We're going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan's Glass. This was one of my highly anticipated movies for the year. Has it been 2 years? 2 years ago now since Split came out. And, we found out at the end of Split that this was going to be a trilogy of movies. This Split was going to be was connected to Unbreakable. It was in that same universe, so it really had me stoked to see what Glass was going to be as a movie after we got that bombshell dropped at the very end that we saw David Dunn, and that we were going to be in the same. It was all in the same movie universe, as Unbreakable was, which we had not seen Unbreakable. Well, as of Glass releasing, had been a full-on 19 years since Unbreakable came out, which was a movie. M. Night Shyamalan has taken a lot of hits over the years for his movies. The Sixth Sense was a big revelation because he always had those twist endings, and that was a big twist. Then Unbreakable was the second movie, and it wasn't nearly as successful and got all the buzz that the Sixth Sense did, but I enjoyed it for what it was, because it was a comic book movie before comic book movies were really a thing, right? When that whole phase was kicking up with Fox, with the X-Men and things like that. Unbreakable came out around that same time, and it came out, and it wasn't a major success. It was, I saw it because I was curious about the movie and was intrigued by how much it talked about comic books and superhero archetypes and things of that nature. So I always enjoyed the movie, though, it's a slow burn type of a movie, but I enjoyed it. And I always wondered what the things they hinted on, were they ever going to do, a sequel? And, M. Night went on to do a ton of other movies. He got super big. He started feeling himself, got quite pretentious, and kind of he built himself up to kind of knock himself down. And he kind of has been on this resurgence the past few years, doing smaller projects, and kind of building himself back up to a point where he did, Split. And it was just, I'm not big into scary movies, and I thought Split was a horror movie for the longest point in time. I started hearing a lot of buzz 2 years ago when it came out, and I was really curious about it. So I finally, when it came out on home video, I finally got a chance to see it and really liked it and was blown away at the end that we see David Dunn, and was like, okay, now we got some connective tissue. Shortly thereafter, because Split did, extremely well for being such a small budgeted movie. It did extremely well, and he announced that, Glass was coming. They were bringing, Samuel L. Jackson's Elijah character back, as well as David Dunn. It was going to be a full-on trilogy, so I thought it was really going to be cool. And it was some Easter eggs dropped throughout the movie, and Split to kind of setting it all up too, besides the big twist at the end with David Dunn. So it was really interesting. And so I was so stoked to be like, okay, what is M. Night going to do, now? I have to say, this movie is kind of a mixed bag. It's, you have all the great actors coming back in the movie. They did a lot of things connecting the three movies together, because you don't really know to the very end of the movie that it's connected to the larger Unbreakable universe. So it's very subtle kind of Easter eggs kind of linked throughout. So Glass was kind of tasked with, it had to do a lot of heavy lifting and kind of filling in the blanks and connecting all three movies together. It had the responsibility of doing that, since it was going to be the last one of the trilogy. You get the large amount of the cast coming back. You have James McAvoy back as Kevin Wendell Crumb and the Horde, and all their multiple personalities he has. You have Bruce Willis back as David Dunn, Samuel L. Jackson back as Eliza Price. We have Anna Taylor-Joy back as Casey Cook from Split. Then we also have Sarah Paulson as Dr. Ellie Staple. Also, they got the original actor back that played Bruce Willis' son in the first movie, Spencer Treat Clark, as Joseph Dunn. And they also brought back Charlene Woodard that played Elijah's mother in the first movie as Mrs. Price. So they brought a lot of the original people, which was so cool, because it being 19 years later, that all the actors agreed to come back to do this movie, which was a cool thing. The unfortunate part about it is, I feel like the writing kind of lets those returning actors down in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the title character of the movie, Glass, which is Elijah Price. His name is Mr. Glass. You don't even get to see him through almost halfway through the movie. We see him, but he's in a catatonic state, or so we're led to believe. And he really doesn't become an active participant to the movie really till late in the second act, really beginning of the third act. And I wanted to see more with Samuel Jackson's character. Elijah Price was a very interesting character that we got to see a lot of in the original Unbreakable movie, and we haven't seen him at all. At least we see David at the very end of Split, so we know he's still in the world. He's still functioning as the overseer, so he's been around. We get that indication. Only thing that we know of Elijah is that, he was captured at the end of Unbreakable and he's been in police custody. And I think it was brief talk. I think it was like email correspondence where maybe Elijah was trying to contact the doctor that was treating the John McAvoy character, Kevin Wendell Crumb, if I remember correctly. It's really this minute, quick little Easter egg drops that you get to see on like her computer screen, or she did research on Elijah. It was something to that nature, but it's very a loose connection where we know that he's kind of still around till this movie, and then we know we don't see anything of him, then he pops up. They kind of try to hide it, and it's just like, why would you hide the title character? Why would you name the movie Glass? And it's not a lot of glass in the movie. We don't really flesh out because this movie, I think, follows up like maybe, is it 3 months or 3 weeks after the events of Split. So it's really like a follow-up. We know what Kevin's been up to in the Horde. We know that what David has been up to, and they kind of do a good setup at the beginning of the movie that, you see he's been operating as the overseer. His son has grown up. They own a business, a security business. We use their business as their HQ for their superhero activities, which is kind of cool. I would have liked to see more of that because I feel like just as much as Samuel Jackson was underutilized, I really think that Bruce Willis throughout the whole movie was very much underutilized. And his performance in the movie is very subdued. His take on Kevin Dunn, even within the first movie, was very subdued. He's not like over the top or very charismatic. You're not going to get diehard Bruce Willis in this movie. It's a very, very, very different character. But I still liked the character and would have liked to have fleshed out more of what had been going on with him. I felt like this was more of a sequel to Split with Unbreakable universe sprinkled around it. So maybe instead of it being called Glass, it should have been called like Shattered. Maybe it would have been a more appropriate name, because with a name like Glass, when you know one of the 3 characters that they have on all the promotional material name or supervillain name is Mr. Glass, and he's in the movie like the least, and the centerpiece of this movie is John McAvoy. He stole this movie from beginning to end. It was his, movie. I just would have rather it might have been called Shattered than Glass, because when you have that name Glass, it just kind of implies that he's going to be the signature character in the movie. I know it's a little twist at the end where, once Elijah dies, his actions cause for the world to know about, about gifted individuals. And it's the secret society that they, which was another big twist. Now, let me speak on this before I go any further, because it does tie into this, the Glass thing. Like I said, M. Night likes to do, and he wrote as well as directed this movie. I don't know if necessarily that's a good thing or a bad thing, but again, this was his movie. This was his baby. I think he put up $20 million of his own money to do this movie. So, I always respect him for the type of filmmaker he is. Choices he makes in making said films are always something that I tend to have a problem with M. Night. And I like the premise of what he goes about doing. And, I remember when Unbreakable came out, I watched a lot of the special features and, just kind of how his mind works. And I hate this about certain directors, that they start to feel themselves so much that they start coming off as pretentious. And it's funny because a lot of the lower key movies, once he kind of had his fall from grace that he did, I really enjoyed. And it wasn't like this is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It was just like you wouldn't even know because his name was boxed off as Poison for so much. They really wouldn't even let you know. If you didn't know the look, you would not know he directed the movie or he was involved with the movie on any level at all. He did that Will Smith, which wasn't a bad movie. It did not do well. I think it was Will Smith and his son. It was a sci-fi movie. Beyond, let me look. I own the movie. And it wasn't a bad little movie. It wasn't great, but it was way better than what I expected. And I ended up buying the movie. I ended up seeing the movie, and I was like, this was way better than what I thought. Again, it wasn't a masterpiece. And now that I'm looking for it to tell you guys, I can't find the movie in my movie collection. Oh, here it is. After Earth with Will Smith and Jaden Smith. It wasn't a bad movie. A lot of people wouldn't have known that M. Night directed that movie, and it was a competent movie. Again, I love sci-fi. I kind of like the straight to video. It came out to the movies, but it kind of has a straight to video kind of B flick. Remind me of 90s sci-fi kind of movies you would watch on like HBO or Showtime on the weekend when you were bored type deal. And I liked some of those moves he was making, and I really liked Split. I just think he got back into that mode of that he was feeling himself too much, where it wasn't just one twist; it was a twist for a twist. We had the whole character of Paula Coulson, which you immediately, I know me, I only can speak for myself. I immediately knew that it was a twist to her character. Everything wasn't what it seemed. I've watched enough of M. Night's movies to know that was related to said twist. But they did a double twist, like pow, like, and that's where I say he starts bordering on pretentious. So I saw that coming. So the whole movie, I was just waiting for the shoe to drop when it came to her character. So then we had the reveal of this Cloverleaf secret society that keeps the gifted, kind of like keeps the balance between the humans and the gifted, and make sure that the main world as a whole does not know about supers or enhanced, or I can't remember what they were calling them, maybe enhanced individuals or gifted individuals. So I was like, okay, here's my problem with the whole secret society. That should have been a bigger part of the movie, and it should have been fleshed out, because that totally came out of nowhere. We did not see anything about this society in Unbreakable. We did not see anything about this and Split. They just at the end, and during the third act, this whole thing just comes up. They come out of nowhere. They kill all the characters. They take out all the characters, and it's very little information given about this society. And after the additional twist that Elijah was, had caught on to it all, and, where they had installed all the cameras, and they thought they had all the footage that they could erase and cover it up. And then that, Elijah kind of used Paula Coulson's technology, the cameras and stuff she put up against the society, and then rerouted the footage to his mom, to David's son, and to Anna Taylor-Joy's character, for them to use to release out to the world. It was like, okay, now that was the actual twist, and I liked that, and it kind of brought the movie back to center on Elijah's character, aka Glass, giving him, making the movie more in line with the namesake, but still, again, he was a very minor character in a movie that he was the title character, which did not make sense to me. Maybe that was a twist in itself. Probably I would have liked the name Shatter, because it just seems like that would have been more fitting. I was kind of shocked that they killed all three characters off at the end, and we were only left with their I guess their loved ones, because we're we have the movie end with Anna Taylor-Joy and with Kevin Wendell Crumb letting her go or saving her in the first in Split, and then we have David Dunn's son Joseph, and then you have Mrs. Price for Elijah, and they're all together at the end as they decide to let this information go on the internet and it go viral, and then the world knows. But then I was like, if Sarah Paulson, I think I was saying that right. Sarah Paulson, Dr. Ellie Staple, she was so confident in that she had done her job, and then we didn't even get any resolution in the end on what happened to her character, because she didn't fail the society, and then everything they had worked for had went down the drain. We didn't see any consequences. We didn't see her get murdered because she actually failed when she thought she succeeded, and she was going to leave to go to the next town and all that. We just see her kind of screaming at the end as she's like kind of foiled. It just didn't make sense that that should have been more of a storyline being built up and revealed throughout the movie about this society than it just being tacked on at the end, because that's, to me, it felt on, it was very much tacked on, thrown on at the very end as just something. So it's like he had a general concept of this movie, but he didn't have a through line, a very thought out, thorough storyline throughout for the whole movie. It just seemed like certain parts, but that especially was tacked on at the very end for just, I don't even know why. It didn't even really make sense in the greater scheme of things on why that was even tacked on, but it is what it is. Overall, it might sound like I didn't enjoy the movie, but I really did. I think the connective tissue, because I'm all about like the world building. They did so many cool things. They brought back M. Night's character, and this is another thing too, where things border on pretentious with him, is that he always has to have some acting role in all his movies. But it was kind of cool that his character, we didn't know. He was in all three movies. He was in Unbreakable I think he was like a pickpocket. And it was a scene at the stadium where David was first coming in to understanding of his powers. And he was working at the stadium, and he would, wear the rain poncho because it was raining, and he would go through and bump people. And I think M. Night's character was in a ring of pickpockets with some other guys, and I think he stopped them, and then we see him. He's the building superintendent for the psychiatrist that is treating Kevin Wendell Crumb and Split, and then you see him at the security store in Glass, and he's getting security system because he's talking about how it was a murder in his building a few weeks ago, and the tenants are getting nervous, so he had to put up additional security cameras. And then he happens to remember David when he sees him, and he's like, used to work at the stadium. So that was really cool, to that whole setup, and that it's tied to the whole character. It's like, yeah, I was doing some nefarious things when I was a young guy, but running into you helped me get on the straight and narrow. Now I'm a building super, yada yada yada. So it was kind of cool seeing like, wow, that one whole character had this whole story arc that kind of paid off. Though it really didn't need to be there, they was still kind of cool that just fleshing out that world and 6 degrees of separation and all that kind of stuff. Overall, I would give this movie a 7.25 out of 10. I didn't hate it. I'm going to get all 3 movies because I don't own all 3 movies now. So they had them on sale leading right when Glass came out, and I just said I'm going to wait, and I'm just going to get the whole trilogy in a box set when the 3 movies come out together, because I'm figuring that movies come to home video so quickly now. I figure by April at the latest that it'll be out, so it'll just be a little wait to pick up the movies. But I feel like the biggest flaws in the movie was definitely the story, especially the resolution of certain things in the third act. I could have felt like could have been handled differently, but I just felt like the movie started so strong and it got weaker as it went along. Especially the third act. I just expected something a little different, and the whole introduction of the secret society just unexplained really, I think, dampened the end. But I enjoyed the movie. Like I said, it won't be my favorite movie of all time, but it wasn't the worst either. And that's where I kind of feel like M. Night kind of finds himself as a director. He's not going to make, great, movies, but he's going to make good to decent movies fairly consistency because I feel like he will always get in his own way by trying to have a twist or trying to have a twist of a twist to keep the audience guessing. But if you know the twist is coming, a lot of times you're just waiting for the shoe to drop. The one uneven element that always felt there throughout the movie was Dr. Ellie Staple. And they never really explained her backstory on why she got there and why she was doing what she was doing with them by trying to evaluate them and why she only had 3 days. So she was the one element that never fit. So you knew she was going to be there's going to be some plot device or dealing with some twist at some point. And he never really fleshed out her character to make you even care about her on any level. She just was there to push the story in this timeline of it had to be done in 3 days. It had to be done in 3 days. She had no really personality at all. You did not know what her motivations was. She said it was to help, but it was like Elijah had been in custody for 19 years, or at least 18 if you want to go that route. It wasn't like he just had got captured. Now with David and Kevin, okay, fine. They were literally just captured at the beginning of the movie. We saw that. But Elijah could have been dealt with at any given point. So that didn't make any sense. Why all of a sudden now that all three of them were together, that was so urgent to do all this. And again, it just leads into where the problem with the writing came and where sometimes you're trying to be too clever. Sometimes it's best just to keep it simple and tell a good story without all the gimmicks. And that's what I feel like the twist stuff can be at some time when you're trying to do it too much. And I feel like he is a better filmmaker than what he gives himself credit for because he seems to have to fully rely on the twist gimmick over and over and over again. Sometimes it worked, like it worked in Split, because it wasn't a twist for a twist for a twist. It was just a twist at the end of bam. We see the diner. We hear the news report, and then we see, Bruce Willis lift his head up, and, it's like, he's going after the horde. He's going to go after the horde. Boom. It was subtle. But when you keep trying to do a twist for a twist for a twist, it's like you're trying to do too much. Just calm down and focus on telling a good story on these great characters that you had. I felt like Anna Taylor-Joy was so underutilized in this movie. I thought she was a really cool character that they built up in Split, that she was just there as a connection point, an anchor for Kevin to keep the horde away. We lost all the coolness and all the stuff they built up in Split with her character, and it was a shame because I liked the character. But neither here nor there. Again, all in all, like I said, it's a pretty decent movie. Date night rental, as far as my rating scale is concerned, 7.25 out of 10. So it's decent. It's definitely a decent movie. One that I would buy, add to my collection. Again, I think this is. This might be the weakest movie out of the three, but not. I mean, I don't know. Unbreakable is such a weird movie because not so many people are as fond of it. I think it was a movie way ahead of its time. If it came out a little later after the whole comic book movie craze, or if that movie came out now, it would be so much larger than what it was at that time. So it's truly ahead of its time. So I think Split, to me, is probably the strongest out of the trilogy, with Unbreakable being second, and then Glass being third, in my humble opinion. But it's just my opinion. But that's all I have for you guys for this episode. I just wanted to break down and go over some of the things about this movie to give you my full-on thoughts and opinions of the different things. I did think the action scenes, as far as them fighting the enhanced or the gifted individuals fighting against one another, like the Dunn horde thing, those scenes were pretty fun and good to see because it had been so much build-up. You wanted to see it after after how Split ended, and you knew David was coming after him, and they had that very early on that you saw them face off, and then again you had it again at the end of the movie. But again, that was pretty cool too. I meant to mention that earlier, but I forgot. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys for this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Again, follow me on social media at Comic Book Savant. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Comic Book Savant. I'm on the road to 1,000, trying to get 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel by the end of the year. I know it's a lofty goal, but I feel like with you guys' help, I can do it. We just reached the 200 subscriber mark, so we have a long way to go, but we have a long year ahead of us. So, I mean, if you haven't already, stop by the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, do fresh original content there. Also, again, I implore you, if you can, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Comic Book Savant. Again, it's patreon.com/Comic Book Savant. Again, no more sponsors, so your help is even more important to keeping this going, more so than ever now. So if you can, just check out the page and see what I'm offering for your donation to, or pledge to the Patreon. It's some really cool bonuses in there, and again, I'm adding and tweaking it so as I go along. So it's some really good bonuses there. A lot of extra Patreon specific content there at the different tiers. And again, lowest tier is $1, highest tier is $7. You get different bonuses depending where you pledge. I might do a quick little just 5-minute episode at some point soon, maybe in the next week or so, that's breaking down what's offered in each tier to give you guys an idea. And you can see if that's something that you're interested in doing. But I appreciate all you guys' support. I mean, the world to me. Again, it's helping me get through this little rough patch here. Well, that's like trying to figure out the whole sponsorship situation and how to move forward with that. And appreciate you guys listening. I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Comic Book Savant. You have a good week, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.